I'll be very brief. See, the history of cow slaughter is very, very complicated, right? So there can be diverse opinions on it. What I would say, based on my research, is that there was some sentiment. See, we cannot give a blanket narrative, okay? But there was some hatred and sentiment between Muslims and Hindus on the issue of the cow, because cow is sacred to Hindus. But what the British did was they fanned it, they incentivized it, like you said, right? So they added fuel to the fire. So it's not just like you said, that it's not just that they got the Muslims to slaughter cows, but they established slaughterhouses. What I want to emphasize is that the British made it an industry. It was not an industry. It was existing. Beef was being eaten, but it was not an industry, right? So the British made it into an industry, and they also incentivized the Muslims to slaughter the cows on the streets in their homes. So on their festivals, like on Bakrid and all, traditionally they are not supposed to actually do cow slaughter, but the British did not stop them. There is records, there is a book called British Origin of Cow Slaughter in India, which I think you are aware of, because you've cited from that. So in that same book, it is recorded that there were clashes on this particular issue, and Hindu kings wrote to the British officers on this, but they were just giving lip service. They did not form any laws around cow slaughter. Now, I want to move ahead from that issue to where we are today. See, today, first of all, beef is a problem for Hindus, of course, because cow is a religious symbol for Hindus. And on the other hand, there is also a lot of hate we receive on the issue of the cow in the form of Gomutra jibes, right? Now, I want to address that particular point also, that if we want to unite on the issue of the cow, we need to stop this kind of hatred towards Hindus on the issue of the cow, right? Now, coming to a little bit, since you mentioned economy and the economics of it, you are absolutely bang on in that they destroyed the indigenous economy of people by cow slaughter. And I just want to cite a few facts on the the externality of beef. So India is one of the biggest exporters of beef. Now you can say that it includes Kara beef also and all of that, but nobody is going and actually testing that beef. Fact remains that we are shifting between number 1, 2 and 3 slots in terms of exports of beef. Now that beef has huge external costs which India is bearing, and other nations are basically just eating that beef without bearing those costs. Now 1 kilocalorie of beef production requires 40 kilocalories of fossil fuels. It requires more than 15,000 liters of water, 1 kg. Imagine 1 kg, 15,000 liters of water is like, at least 20 years of your life, you can drink that much water. 1 kg of beef equivalent, if you use the land for production of grains, it will give you 51 kgs of vegetables using that same land, same resources. These are just some, basic facts which I'm giving you out of the top of my head.
Right.
Now, there is a very big cost in terms of health, in terms of economy. So now these kind of crops which are grown to feed the cows, they deplete the topsoil. So once that topsoil is gone, it's gone like for 500 years, you cannot replenish it. And that's loss of arable land. India in the whole world is already one of the countries which has the lowest arable land availability, in the sense that the rate of erosion of arable land is very, very fast in India, much faster than the world average. So these are just some numbers we need to look at. And from the scientific perspective, from the economy perspective, we need to come together and ban cow slaughter. That's what I would like to say. And if you like, you can check some more facts. There's like this study which basically it's covered in my book. There was a study in the United States, not in India, but you can do a similar study in India and find out. If you just change from meats to vegetarian diets, it can feed at least 840 million people more. Now, even if you remove other meats, you just remove beef, it can still feed a lot more people because you're consuming such less resources for production.
I agree. So you make a very strong case, which is a scientific case. You make a very strong case, which is a scientific case. And then on the other hand, there is this political narrative, which is also playing on faith. Somewhere, it is in the larger interest of us as a country, Ratan Sharda ji, to understand that we start respecting the cow and move a little away from meat consumption overall. Meat production itself is an issue. That has to come by legislation then. You're going to try and say my right to choose to eat, but the fact is, if I make a logical argument here that you're going to not have anything to eat if you're going to continue to produce beef like this, then you stop beef production. Regulate that.
Anand, see, just to give one, what Aarti has quoted, I have quoted these figures way back in 2015 when I wrote an article about the scientific basis of banning cow slaughter. Well, sometimes I mix up beef and cow because beef also contains buffalo meat, which is not nobody asking to
Buff,
ban
huh.
that. Point one. Point two is Islamic countries are nowhere in the top beef eating countries per capita. I'm not talking even population per capita. Kazakhstan is number 9, Turkey is at number 13, Kuwait is number 21. All other Islamic countries are much below that, which means cow is not a staple diet of Muslims, just like it is not a diet at all of Hindus. So, this idea that Muslims must eat cow is not based on any fact. Secondly, in America, horse slaughter is not like that. It, I think, banned in many states. Nobody objects to that. People love dogs. People come on streets. People fight for dogs' rights. But if you talk of cows' rights, it is belittled and ridiculed. So this strange habit is very, funny in the name of no wokeism. Coming to also this cow issue, today world is going over to organic farming, and this organic farming has become so important. The people who actually destroyed the desert, the lands with the chemical farming today are talking of organic farming. And if you look at Indian farming practices, they lasted more than 6,000 years. Land has remained fertile. But in Western countries where the agriculture is hardly 200 to 300 years old in the modern terms, they have made large tracts of land into deserts. Aarti gave some figure. Let me also add a few figures. 80% of the corn and 95% of oat is used in USA to feed the cattle, and 260 million hectares of forest have been cleared in USA only to feed the cattle and to put those carts. And the biggest loss of this, beef industry is deforestation and forest fires. There is also climate change. There is Amazon rain forest which is losing its power to have its own rain. There is land grabbing. There is killing of wildlife. There is also pandemics and also very inefficient use of land. And why do Hindus revere cow? Because Hindus have a habit of raising anything that is very useful to the level of divinity, whether it's river, whether it's forest, or tulsi, or cow. Now, as I said, the entire rural economy and the agriculture economy depends on cow because of all the products of cows are usable. In fact, there are now researches which tells even old cows are good enough for cow dung, which can be used for various kind of fuels, and where the various products can be made, which have been patented in USA. So all this tells you that cow is revered because of its economic issues. And I was get just one example, just last example.
Ratan Chadha ji, I'm over time. I'm sorry I have to interrupt you because this has been a very, very engaging and of course enlightening discussion here. And thank you for joining us with your right perspective. We will take this forward in saying what we need to do as a nation, why it needs to come under our consciousness. For the moment, winding up.